What did a crush do that made you immediately lose interest? He would steal people's tips off the bar counter when we were at a bar together with friends. Then he would offer to buy me food with it. No thank you. Bartender here. I'm confident these people will burn in whatever hell awaits. Also, if you're at a bar with a bouncer, this is an easy way to get your face dinged off the doorframe as you're escorted out and told never to come back. Agreed. It was gross. I didn't let him buy me anything and quickly didn't associate myself with him.
She told me that spanking her teenage daughter didn't work because it wasn't satisfying enough. Edit a bit of context. This was long ago and far away in a European country. The mother was a statuesque blonde divorcee, and the daughter was about 14 and headed for trouble. Corporal punishment was de rigueur at the time, both here and in Europe. I decided that the situation was hopeless and noped out of there ASAP. The daughter hated her mother, big surprise, and went on to get pregnant and force her mother to raise the child. I came back to the States and still consider myself lucky to have dodged that bullet.
This feels like a gobstopper of implications. The more I think about it, the worse it gets. She told me that spanking her teenage daughter didn't work. Interesting thing to bring up. Because I'm not sure I need or want an explanation. It wasn't satisfying. This is where it gets really weird. Why would she expect it to be satisfying? Enough. Oh boy. This one word changes the last segment, and it's this word that gets worse the more I think about it.
A woman I was talking to was recently divorced and had moved back in with her parents. She already had a child and a couple pets and was talking about getting another pet, and her parents told her no. She chose to go ahead and get another pet anyhow, and basically her parents began pushing her out the door. And it was a stressful situation for her, and I suggested she talk to her folks. However, once she told me she was grown and made her own decisions and did not care about their rules, I suddenly understood and quickly lost interest. A massive turnoff for me are people who genuinely don't give a shit about their parents or their opinions when their parents aren't oppressive or hurtful in any way.
Cute girl in 9th grade. There was a party over at her house, out in the country. Had a big old crush on her. So she says they raised chinchillas. Okay, everyone wants to see the fuzzy critters. There were about 100 of them. The ammonia smell was unreal. So there's a platform with battery cables on it, and I asked what that was for. She said, here, I'll show you. Have some ready to go anyway. She grabbed a little fuzzy critter, clamped the cables on it, and threw the switch. Without missing a beat, killed that critter. It was bizarre that a teenage girl could electrocute an animal that easily. No more crush. I was actually afraid of her a little after that. It kind of sucked the life out of the party, to say the least. Why did they have a chinchilla murder station anyway? Probably for the pelts.
Asked me to be their wingman because they had a crush on my best friend. Oof, same thing happened to me. Then when I moved on, he started being sexually inappropriate and bullied me. Only when my best friend and my boyfriend weren't around. To this day, it's why I was ever attracted to someone like that.
For context, him 6 feet 4 inches, built dude, me 5 feet 0 non-built lady. We were hanging out at his house when he jokingly blocked my way when it was time for me to go and wouldn't let me pass. I asked him to let me by when he wouldn't. I told him I was uncomfortable and he called me a crazy bitch. That was the end of that for me. That is a huge red flag. Creepy. Sounds like he was testing the waters. That'll be a hard no from me. Thanks.
She generalized everyone. She was also such a bitch to everyone that she didn't understand. He plays video games? Wow, when do you think he'll move out of his mother's basement? Wow, she wears so much makeup, can you imagine what she's hiding under that face? Just such a mean-spirited person, and it completely turned me off. Ugh. I had a friend like that. Extremely judgmental. She always said, "What? I'm blunt, you know that." But God forbid anyone was ever blunt with her. I eventually stopped talking to her. She wasn't blunt, she was bitchy. This is the same friend that told me my anxiety and depression were all in my head and I could make it go away if I really wanted to. Ironically, A few years later she started having panic attacks and meltdowns and had to take the same meds she told me I didn't need. Should have taken the opportunity to tell her it's all in her head and she could make it go away if she really wanted to.
I was casually dating a 19-year-old guy when I was 18. He seemed totally normal until I met him at his house before a date and his mom asked him to take the garbage out before we left. He threw a fit that would embarrass most 3-year-olds, including crying, yelling at his mom, and punching the floor. I pretended that my parents were calling and needed me to come home, blocked his number, and never saw him again. I like to think that mom knew he'd do that and was trying to save you the trouble. The mom is the secret MVP of all this, but maybe not, because her kid needs help.
We were driving down the road and she threw a Starbucks cup right out the window. Gross. Edit. Thanks for the silver. Also, I was a passenger so I couldn't kick her out, and I'm honestly not sure it was Starbucks, but it was easier than saying paper coffee cup. Litterers should be turned into goddamn trees.
2 days after our first date, she showed up at my work with a pan of homemade lasagna, a ice cream making machine for my kids, and all kinds of groceries. I was a single dad at the time and I guess it was some sort of care package for me. I also work about 2 hours from where she lives. When I said she didn't have to do that, she started to cry. Bit of a red flag. Are you sure she isn't from an anim? It's not like I made it for you or anything. I just had leftovers of it to get rid of. Don't think it's actually a gift or something.
I might forgive it if it was just the homemade lasagna. Regardless of how long a trip she had. I would forgive it all if it was a couple dates into the relationship, as that seems sweet. But one date? No. Before I can give a final verdict. Was the lasagna good? This is important for me. I don't remember it being bad, so I guess it must have been alright. Wait, you kept and ate the things she brought? Now I dunno which one of you is more strange.
He would ask me questions about myself, then cut me off in the middle of my answer to talk about himself. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? I think I'd like telekinesis because I have a friend like that, and my cousin does this often too. It's like they bring it up so they can talk about it, but don't realize that you can just say what you want to say instead of bait and switching with who gets to talk. I love them both dearly, but fuck, it's so annoying.
I had a harmless crush on a married friend that I did not signal or act on, ever. I've been the spurned wife before. I kept my distance and did everything short of unfriending him on Facebook. He slid on into my DMs right after my separation became public knowledge and he found out I was no longer married. He was still married to his wife, with a baby on the way. I didn't respond. They are divorced now. She's a really lovely person and deserves so much better. The bro code is unisex. The bro code is unisex. Sisters before misters.
Called me a sexist for pointing out that she was improperly and dangerously using a power saw. I mean, I get that a lot of guys probably talk down to women using tools, but for f***'s sake, she was so close to losing a hand or worse. Edit. In her defense, there was a guy there who had been constantly asking to take over what she was doing, even when she was doing fine, so I'm sure she was pretty sick of it by then. There is definitely a lot sexism towards women doing construction related things. It was the disregard for personal safety that got me. I personally will take any advice saving me from death, dismemberment or any related bills from someone who would appreciate it. Thank you.
Guy was academic, hygienic, and sweet. Treated waitstaff appropriately. Spoke formally but still funny. Shared things in common. Me. Perfect gentleman. Date ended 10/10. While driving me home, at a stoplight, pointed to a homeless man crossing the street, said I would stop my car for anybody crossing the street, just not homeless men. Where do they have to be? They're in no hurry. Me thinking, okay, unsolicited and kinda odd. He added another comment, it'd be funny if I run him over. Me, ghosted him like right after he dropped me off. I would stop my car for anybody crossing the street, just not homeless men. Where do they have to be? They're in no hurry. LMAO, that's some Larry David tier shit.
Claimed women were only a sex relief for men, and couldn't be as smart as them. Then proceeded to ask me to have sex with him. Edit, since some people are asking, copy pasting from another comment of mine about what happened afterwards. I asked him if he has a lot of sex. Yes, of course. Then you can go ask another girl, because I'm not going to have sex with you. We were out. He bugged me 2 hours and a half. I'm not kidding you. It was actually that much time, trying to convince me that having sex with him was going to be the best experience in my life. I let him talk 2 hours, even pretended to almost be interested. Then at the end of his rant I repeated I would rather die a virgin. He was pretty offended. Edit 2. To solve another of you guys' curiosities, I didn't expect this to blow up so much. Thanks a lot. I had a crush on him in high school, and he wasn't like that as a teenager. He was a weirdo, but not sexist at least, and if he was, he made sure nobody noticed. Then we went our separate ways, but I couldn't forget him, so after a year I asked him to meet again and that's what happened. Thank you for watching this fantastic video. Please tap one of the 4 videos on the screen for another amazing ultra Reddit video.